All right, well, this is the topic you guys wanted. Spurs starting 5. So, right off the bat, I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is hard to talk about, only because there's been so many reports about the Spurs. We don't know what's going to happen with Aminu. We don't know what's going on with Thad Young. There's reports that Thad Young is going to be traded to the Suns. It's really hard to say. But even with those things in mind, I can honestly say I don't think my starting lineup changes whether or not Thad Young is there or not. So I might have spoiled it just a little bit, but I do want to show this starting lineup, and I think this is one that a lot of people will probably go with. Big shout out to House of Spurs for this depth chart. This is actually a really good depth chart, and I think that this is a very reasonable depth chart. Even though I don't completely agree with it, and I'll get into that in a minute, I do understand the logic behind it. The fact that DeJounte Murray and Derrick White playing together, I get it. We haven't seen a lot of it. Derrick White has implemented himself into the shooting guard position fairly well. He's a good catch and shoot shooter now, shooting about 37%, I believe. And he's only getting better. DeJounte Murray is only getting better. I understand it, but I don't completely agree with it. And I'm going to tell you why. So let's go ahead and get into it. DeJounte Murray starting. Easy. Now, right off the bat, I do want to go ahead and go a little more in depth with why I would start DeJounte Murray. Most people will start DeJounte Murray because he's been the starter and he's a good player. But I want to add that one major reason I will probably start DeJounte Murray because I can't really see him coming off the bench at this point. He's just one of those players. I think that it will really affect not necessarily his psyche, but just how he approached the game if he had to come off the bench. I think that telling him that we have complete trust in him and faith in him and allowing him to be the point guard, I think he'll just overall play better. He's just one of those guys, you know. It was kind of the same thing with Danny Green. Danny Green had to start, and when he didn't look that good. And I think that's the same thing with DeJounte Murray. Also, DeJounte Murray has proven this past season that he belongs in that role as a starting point guard. I wasn't bought on him starting maybe 3 seasons ago, but now I'm on board. He's played major good basketball, and his basketball IQ has increased tremendously, not to mention that his shooting has gotten much better as well. So he starts, and there's more to that, and I'll talk about him starting a little bit more in a minute. Now, this is where I differ from House of Spurs. I would actually start Lonnie Walker. And the reason being is because Lonnie Walker is only getting better. He plays very well with DeJounte Murray. And this in particular is something that I want to show you that he's been working on. And I know you're going to see it and you're just going to look at it and just say, that's not a big deal, Clan. Why are you even showing this? But trust me, this is a big deal. Okay, this is just practice, but if he can implement this into the game. Okay, let's go ahead and show this. Jakob Pertl. Okay, now I know a lot of people are going to see this and they're going to say this isn't a big deal. He's just practicing, he's just shooting shots. But one thing that's special about this, or not special, but if it can be implemented in an NBA setting, is that one thing that Lonnie Walker has not been, in my opinion, particularly great at, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really have the numbers on it, but just watching the game, this is my eye test. Okay, I'm getting on some Skip Bayless stuff right here. One thing that I haven't really liked from Lonnie Walker is I feel like Lonnie Walker isn't necessarily a good catch and shoot shooter. And I think that sometimes he gets the ball, sometimes he does a little bit too much with it. But if he can come into that role similar to what Derrick White is doing, where Derrick White is shooting 37% when catch and shoot, and he could do something like that, I think that brings way more utility to a Lonnie Walker. With DeJounte Murray maybe putting on kind of the big load as far as scoring during the game and just having the confidence to give it to Lonnie Walker for a couple threes before Lonnie Walker releases in the fourth quarter. And we're going to talk about that in a different video. But I think that the duo between these two would be pretty nice, and they play fairly well together. Also, like I said, Lonnie Walker's only getting better. And I think that this is I don't think that this is definitely a season in which he has to show out, or else he might not get his money and his career might go a little downhill. So he has to show out this season. He's only getting better. He can create his own shot. This is the type of guy you want. Now, the reason why I wouldn't start Derrick White is kind of because I want Derrick White to be a point guard. I'm tired of him having to be in the shooting guard position. It's not his natural position. Also, I think that he plays way better when he can kind of have his own unit to go ahead and implement. Now, I know Lonnie Walker is a good playmaker, but Derrick White is the better playmaker. So I would much rather Derrick White handle that bench unit. Also, with him coming off an injury, I would definitely want to just ease him into that role. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The rest are the same as this man's right here. I would go with Doug McDermott, obviously, because he is a very good shooter, but that's my power forward. I'm sorry. Keldon Johnson, I don't even think I have to explain that. I just want him in his natural position. Keldon Johnson will start. I think most people will say Keldon Johnson starts. I don't think I have to get into that, but Doug McDermott, this is something I want to get into. Doug McDermott will start because not only is he a really good three-point shooter, that he's also good off the ball. Like, he's really good at running around screens, getting open, reading the defense. He is really good at that. And with a guy like DeJounte Murray and Lonnie Walker, actually, but a guy like DeJounte Murray, who's really struggled, I would say, the first couple seasons of him starting, or at least, maybe the first couple seasons. I think that this would really benefit him, having a guy like this, a guy that can get open, a guy that's going to read the defense, and you're going to get some easy buckets to kind of get you going a little bit, ease some of that pressure. Now, lastly, Jakob, I think it only makes sense. Even though he can't really space the floor, he's a guy that's going to play really good defense in the paint, get you some rebounds, and maybe take off some of the beating that Doug McDermott is going to take under that rim. Let's just be completely real. But with that being said, that's my starting lineup, man. I would go with DeJounte Murray. I would go with Lonnie Walker. I would go with Keldon Johnson, Dougie McBuckets, McDonald's, Mickey D's, I don't know. And Jakob Poeltl. So I really want to know what you guys think. Like, what's your starting lineup? That will be mine. As far as coming off the bench, we don't really have to get into that. I just really do believe that Derrick White would benefit the most coming off the bench over, a Lonnie Walker at this point. I think Lonnie Walker needs that space to really show what he can do. And in my opinion, he's the most talented player on the team right now. And when you come with Derrick White, I think Derrick White can really run that second unit. You can even switch him up with DeJounte sometimes, like half the first quarter, put him in and see what you do with that. But yeah, so as my starting lineup, I want to know what you guys think. If you want to support the channel, I'm doing monthly giveaways at the end of each month. So if you want to go ahead and get on that, link in the description. All right, love you guys. Till next time. I don't know why I keep doing that.